There is evidence that links suspect Luigi Mangione to the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione was arrested on Monday in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Police say the gun they found on him matched the shell casings that were left behind at the site of last week's shooting. Mangione's fingerprints also matched a water bottle and a snack bar wrapper that police discovered near the scene in Midtown Manhattan, where it happened. It's believed Mangione brought those items from a nearby Starbucks just moments before the attack. We're also learning police recovered a spiral notebook from the suspect, along with a 3-page handwritten letter in which he wrote, quote, "These parasites had it coming." Sources tell NBC News in the notebook, Mangione allegedly wrote about wanting to target a CEO at a conference with a gun, claiming that method is better than using an explosive device. The governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, joins us now at the table. Also with us, president of the National Action Network and host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton. Good to have you all with us this morning. Governor, I guess, first of all, is there any more in this case that there's so many different angles to this, and some of them all of it deeply disturbing, but any new information on this case?
It feels like the evidence is very compelling.
Yeah.
I trust the DA here in Manhattan to make sure that he puts forth an indictment that is going to be ironclad, and that's why there's been a little time. People say, why hasn't something happened already? You want to get this right. You don't want to have anybody, a defense attorney, be able to attack what you've done. You have to get it right. We expect that to be issued any day now. And at the second that happens, I'm issuing a warrant for extradition. I've already told the governor of Pennsylvania in multiple conversations, Josh Shapiro, and he's working with me on this. So I want to get him back here in the state of New York and run him through our criminal justice system, because that horrific attack occurred on our streets. And the people of our city deserve to have that sense of calm that this perpetrator has been caught and he will be never seeing the light of day again if there is justice. You cannot assassinate an individual on the streets of New York. Not now, not ever.
Yeah, just in the last 24 hours, as Mika said, we got shell casings that match the gun he used. We got fingerprints on the water bottle and the candy bar wrapper as well. I just want to dig a little deeper on the extradition, because he is fighting extradition. Some people say this could take a long time just to get him back here. What kind of timeline do you expect once you submit that warrant to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania?
I will issue it. He'll sign it. But the judge has already set a date for a hearing on December 23rd. We'll see whether that date has to hold. The governor and I both want him brought back to New York as soon as possible. So there will be some legal activities from the defense lawyer's side, but I believe that the judge will say he's going back to New York. So we're expecting that to happen any day now.
So, Governor, we obviously have learned somewhat of this suspect's writings, and they may have targeted this individual who is a CEO of the healthcare company. But there's been great alarm in the business community among chief executives since this shooting. There's no greater hub of chief executives than obviously New York City, Manhattan in particular. What sort of message do you want to send to these companies? What sort of extra security perhaps could be provided?
I already spoke to them. I spoke to Kathy Wild, who runs the partnership, the largest organization representing many CEOs. I've called them individually. And I said this: bring together your top security officials with my state police and our intelligence leadership and NYPD. Let's have a meeting and we can share information, not just best practices, because they always have top-notch, usually former law enforcement, security forces. But when I see some trend occurring from our intelligence that a certain classification of individuals are being targeted, a certain industry, we can share that information. So I want to be much more proactive and work with them closely to protect them. We protect everybody on the streets of New York, not just CEOs. Everybody deserves the protection of our law enforcement. I want to make sure that happens. It's my #1 priority.
Well, on that note about broader public safety, this comes at a time where that's been under a spotlight here in New York. We just had the verdict in the subway case, the Jordan Neely case. This obviously, what message do you have for New Yorkers and visitors alike? It's obviously the holidays here in New York. Crowds are here. And is there more that you need to keep the city safe?
We're going to make sure that people have that sense of security they deserve. I'll be making an announcement shortly about our activities in the subways, for example. A lot of people come here. They take the subways. It's the best way to get around. We know that. And I've actually still have the National Guard that I spoke about on this show back when I put them in the subways in the spring, when then we started seeing a spike in crime. Crime on the subway is down to pre-pandemic levels. I understand people may not feel that way. There's a lot of anxiety. I understand that to my core. But that being said, the subways, which carry now over 6.5 million people, we still have a small number of incidences. But I'll tell you what bothers me the most is the anxiety people feel when they see someone in the throes of a mental health crisis. And they don't know whether this person is going to be self-contained and just make some noise and activity, or whether they're going to do harm to them. And that is something no one should have to face. And so what I'm going to be working on, and I'll tell you this, it's coming, we're working more on the whole issue of involuntary removal. We have a program for that, but here's what happens. If someone doesn't take care of themselves, we can remove them. They go to the hospital, they're cycled back the next hour. I mean, the system is not working, and I have stronger regulations on that are going to affect just in a couple of weeks. So we've opened 1,000 hospital beds, so people who really do need care get the care they need. The system has failed people, and I want people to feel safe. They deserve that here in the streets of New York.
And picking up on that, as you want to, and all of us want to see people feel safe, the way you deal with mental health situations has to be escalated as you are beginning. And the concern some of us have, I preached Jordan Neely's funeral, is that you cannot therefore inspire people to take law into their own hands and ends up with fatalities. That's right. We have a verdict, have to live with the verdict. I may have disagreed with it, but that's not my debate. My debate is, how do we deal with people that have mental health issues but not inspire other people that they can take the law in their own hand, and we end up with people dead for whatever reasons that have had a mental health problem. We can't overlook that.
Jordan Neely never should have been in that situation. He should have been identified as someone who has mental health issues, and he should have been in compassionate care. And I've allocated $1 billion, more than any governor in this country, toward mental health, because I know at a human level, he deserved that. Everyone deserves that. But society deserves to feel safe and not threatened from individuals who are not getting the care they need. So we have more to do. I have been laser focused on this mental health issue for the last 3 years. We have over 750 people who are long-term homeless in our subways. Some of them seem threatening people. They are now in supportive housing because of the work that I've done with the mayor as well. So this is how we're doing it. We're going into this. I was there yesterday, going into the subways, identifying people who need help and saying, we're here to move you here so you get the help you need, and the people you've left behind in that system are going to feel a lot safer. We have to be aggressive about this.
This was a difficult case for a lot of New Yorkers. They understood the tragedy of Jordan Neely. They also saw a lot of the police cams that showed almost everybody on that subway saying they felt like their safety was in danger. And so most of them did not see Daniel Penny as a bad guy, but they felt like their safety was in danger. And there was, I thought, a really good New York Times article explaining how the fear that New Yorkers felt is what framed that tragedy. And so you have the mental health crisis. And you also have, though, Jordan Neely being arrested how many times? 20, 30, 40 times, right? So this recidivism where you talked about people going in and out of mental health treatment. It's the same thing New Yorkers are saying. Are we really going to live in a city where somebody goes to jail 20, 30, 40 times and then comes down on the subway and starts talking about, not caring if he dies and not caring if he does harm to other people? How does New York get their arms around that so New Yorkers feel safe and we don't have tragedies like this?
Joe, when I became governor 3 years ago, I had to change the bail laws that had been changed before I became governor by my predecessor. Let me just say that. Mm-hmm. They were so loose that someone who was committing crime after crime after crime was being let out. I had to work and get through the legislature, and this was not the easiest thing I've ever done, to get them to understand that we cannot have a system that doesn't work. I mean, when I'm up in the Bronx where I was yesterday, I walk the streets, I talk to shop owners. They should not be in fear that someone who robbed them the day before, took everything they have, is going to be back on the streets the next day. I changed the laws. Now, here's the issue I have. The application of the laws is wildly diverse from upstate and downstate. I track all the state numbers. When I see that judges and sometimes prosecutors in New York City have a very different philosophy about how to handle the question of whether or not bail should be granted versus others, I want to make sure that they're following the state laws that we've now empowered them to use.
So why is there a difference between upstate and downstate? You would think that judges in the city would want people that live around them to be as safe as people in upstate.
Joe, you would think that. I'm not seeing those same results. And for people to blame now the state legislature and myself, who changed the laws and empowered judges to say, this is a person who needs help. They should be in a mental health program. This is a person who's a repeat offender, keeps terrorizing people, hurting retail clerks and workers, hurting people on the streets. You should not be out again. You should not be out. You have the power to keep them. Shame on you if you don't exercise that power, is what I say.